Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Here Be Dragons. I am your host, Stephen Stark, and joining me this week, longtime friend of the channel, Sanrixian. I'm going to assume most of you know her on some level, but for those of you that don't, Sanri, would you like to introduce yourself? Who the hell are you?
Well, I am Sanrixian, the mother of Dragons, if you will. Maker of Dark Star shitposts and t-shirts and other wearable goodies and prints and things. You can find me at Sanrixian on most places on the internet. Sanrixian.threadless.com if you want merch. And check out my Patreon because that's where I do most of my live streams and fun things like that. So, yeah,
Um,
I'm
all of those
Sanri.
all of those links are at the very top of the description. So like I think your link tree is first, but then
Perfect. Great
Patreon,
job.
Twitter, Threadless, it's all in there.
Yeah. Excellent job. That's the link tree. If you've got the link tree, you've got it. Google it. You can find me. Thank you, Emily. Hi, Emily.
So yeah, thanks everyone for being here. If you're having a little bit of deja vu, it's because the first thing, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom on this channel, first video is me interviewing Sanrixian on April the 8th,
Wow.
2019. So almost 4 years ago. And what a difference that makes. Like COVID wasn't a thing. Um,
We've lived lives, and House of the Dragon wasn't a thing.
House of the Dragon wasn't a thing.
Um,
The show
Game of
wasn't
Thrones
over
was still
yet.
airing. Yeah, it was a wild time. It was a different time in our lives, wasn't it?
Like I think it was just before season 8 dropped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, so it's been a long time. And in that time, I have seen you at two separate conventions, and we have also had a recurring D&D game together now for over a year, just over a year.
Quite.
By the way, William's got some love for the background.
Oh yeah, many Pokemon.
Many Pokemon. We will probably talk about
Original.
Pokemon at some point
Yeah,
during this stream.
Sanrixian wood carving.
Hey, you can just tell me that stuff straight up. I read the private chat. I think it was my mic placement, if I'm being honest.
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah. The notorious season 8. Like I don't think it had even started yet.
Yeah, I think it was. Didn't it drop at the beginning of May or April? It because
No,
we saw
so for reasons
episode 3 in
right. I know
at
when
or
episode
Ice
3
and
happened.
FireCon. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll never forget that.
Yeah. Like yeah, I won't either. But you know what? I want to breeze right past that and talk about Con of Thrones in 2019 because that was perhaps one of the greatest weekends of my life.
Is this when you were a secret never nude and you wore your Liana dress and I stole
Yes,
your
and you
baby?
want to know something else funny?
Mm-hmm.
These
Oh, you got the jorts on.
are the
Thank
shorts.
you.
These are the shorts.
It's winter. You're truly from Texas, aren't you?
I truly am. But yeah, so we were just discussing this is the same shirt I wore almost 4 years ago. It's been through the wash. You know, if you look closely, you'll see it's not new, but like it's well loved. What? So over the last year, I finally convinced you to play D&D.
Right.
And
My
really,
brother
it was
really
your brother
helped.
that did the convincing.
Yeah.
But the moment he said, I want to get my sister in on a game, I was like, I have been trying for 2 years to get you to play with me. And we finally did. And we had a moment. I don't want to go into it too much, but there was a beautiful moment with a horse riding off into the sunset. and it was maybe one of my proudest dungeon mastering moments. And I also felt like that was a really fun or like even cathartic moment for you in it. So have I'm leading to a question. Okay.
Yeah.
Liam, you had said before this that you had played once before and you had a very unpleasant experience.
I
And
feel like really
and that
guilty saying that
you shouldn't, because like not every dungeon master, not every player belongs at every table. And I think that's an important thing that you learned by trying a different table, if you will.
Right.
So having those two different experiences, can you speak to why do you want to show up every week or every other week and spend of your time listening to people pretend to be someone they're not?
Well, me and my brother have a really good time with our really bad Cockney accents, which helps put us into our characters. And I get to play with Emily of the Eyrie, Emily, and of course Sean, 3-piece. Sweet. I'm probably saying that wrong. He's told me how to say it about 1,000 times, but oh, Rooster. It's just like the first D&D experience I had was very combat oriented, and the gentleman who did it for us, his name was David, and bless him, like he tried. He really liked Matt Mercer, but he didn't have the critical role energy. Like you kind of got to have a little bit of a boom, and he was just doing his best to put on his first campaign. And we had a character who was played by one of the girls who was like my ex's wife or whatever, and she wanted to play a unicorn and be a murder hobo. And now I know what a murder hobo is, but at the time I just found it so annoying, and just like I wanted to like go to the town and talk to the people and get a horse and like play the fantasy RP game, and she just kind of made it impossible. So that was like why my first experience was so bad. But what brings me back this time is because we had like the similar setup, like where we're in a tavern. You brought us all just to this place and threw us together. And I was like, Steven, can I have whatever I want on my fantasy menu, including Scotch eggs? And you were like, sure, Sanri, whatever you would like, this tavern can supply you. And just like leading into that, you let us kind of like do whatever we want to, but in a reasonable way where you check us. So that kind of like creativity and like inclusion makes it really, really fun. Like I wanted to smoke some cave trolls out with fantasy weed, and you let me do that. I wanted to have a tea party.
It didn't really work. Let's be honest.
Did it? I think it did. I think it did.
But I think
Emily and Sean will say it did.
I think you had a lot of fun trying, though, and the point is that we're having fun, right? Yeah. I often tell people, like, when you're playing in one of my games, what I'm going to try to deliver is a serious fantasy epic adventure that will take a year or more to complete. You guys have been playing for over a year. You haven't completed it yet.
I don't want to.
Well, there's stuff to do after, but like there is a good like save the world moment at the end of it. I don't want to say anything else. It's too, you obviously all feel that coming. But like you guys, Dungeons and Dragons is like, I get to decide if the next thing, if you need to break into the bank, but you guys get to decide whether the soundtrack is Mission Impossible or Keystone Cops or Benny Hill, you know what I mean? Or Pink Panther. Like, you get to approach it the way you get to approach it. And like, I will say some dungeon masters can get very up their own butt about that doesn't exist here. And I have my bridges that are too far, you know? Ask this gentleman, right? He's literally referencing the thing I'm talking about. He wanted to make wingsuits for lizardmen, and I'm just like, look, at some point I have to be like, until you get magic involved, get them capes of flying, then, you know, but no, you're not making wingsuits for lizardmen. It's just not happening. It's funny, but you can only go so far. But yeah, Scotch eggs, fantasy drugs of various descriptions. Sure. You want a plushie from the aquarium? Tear it up. You
Mm-hmm.
want to play chicken in the wading pool? You want to go to the hot springs? Yes, you can do all of that. But like, I also appreciate when characters take the time to engage in that stuff that I put in the world to begin with. So it's equally rewarding in both directions. And
Quite.
and you you bring a good energy with your brother that just makes it really fun, and the most wholesome, like, scared to hold hands type cutesy little budding romance of Team Purple.
So the
It
character I play
Yeah.
is a
You
big
know what? Yeah, tell everybody
5
about.
foot 11, like was isolated in like basically like a women's prison camp and raised to be a warrior nun, more or less, and prays to the trees. Just doesn't know anything. Asked for a dummies book on boys, and is madly in love with our dear Sean's character, Dram. So they they're very sweet and they don't know anything and they're just fumbling in a closet. Good for them. We love them. Team Purple.
It's just
The red and blue.
they're so wholesome, and I do really enjoy your character in that campaign as well.
Satai is very pure. I wanted her to be more chaotic and more like evil leaning, but she's just like good and chaos and will do anything with her brother and support her friends, but very much like
And she's not mean.
loves everything.
She's not mean, but she is
Mm-mm.
definitely like not going to let anybody tell her how to live her life either.
No.
Yeah.
And like I wanted her to be really big and really strong and like her intimidate is like pretty high. I'm sure Emily can tell us what it is, but like we're a pretty high charisma crew. I think I have one of the lowest charismas, but I definitely have one of the highest wisdoms. So I'm technically like the smartest but not the most charming, but I'm also really big and strong so that
Hmm.
people can't mess with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't be evil. Like I can't even be like morally gray. I just have to be a little pure bunny girl the whole time, I
But you
guess.
know what? It's working out because, like, the fact that your brother is the most morally gray of the entire
Hmm.
party, but he's your brother. Like, yes, he's your IRL brother, but he is also your character's brother. For those of you
Brother.
that didn't make that connection, right? They're siblings playing siblings, and
Mm.
the, they bring that, true sibling chemistry, and it's fantastic. Oh my gosh, Emily just posted your character sheet.
Go. You can go look at my things. I don't mind. I have
Right.
no secrets. Definitely have all of my noted gold and random monster parts from things we've killed, but
Right.
it's been a really beautiful time. I've really enjoyed D&D. I really like to draw people's characters, and I
Hmm.
have a couple commissions coming up where I'm drawing Emily's, Marcelly, and Snora, I believe are their
Ah,
names, and I'm going to also be drawing her entire like 6-person party that's been going for quite some time, including Alan. So those will be fun. I have a couple other clients who I can't name that I'll
right,
be
right.
doing
Hey,
D&D commissions for, but
it,
I really enjoy doing those. Wink, commissions open soon. Wink,
see, that's a
everyone.
great little segue into a different topic. We might circle back to D&D later, but you are a professional artist. That is what you do, and you are currently a freelance artist.
Right.
I would like to direct everyone to the Patreon and Threadless links down below. Again, I'm a patron. Uh, I'm not number one, but I, I'm top five, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Somebody beat me to it. I tried. It's all good. Um, I don't even know who it is. You won't tell me. But that's fine. I'll wrangle it out of you eventually. I actually think I do know who it is. Anyway, I digress. Go become a patron of Sanri because she's fantastic. You have a patron stream coming up this Saturday evening. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. Most of my patron streams are on Saturdays. It's on my Twitch channel, which is just twitch.tv/slash Sanrixian. That's in Steven's links he pinned under the
Mm-hmm.
link tree. So I have all the past streams there. I do requests. Basically, my patrons are way too generous and way too wonderful, and a lot of them forget to send requests in. So I'm trying to hassle everyone into coming up with something for this one on Saturday, which will be patron house sigils. So, like, we're probably going to do a Stark. We're probably going to do a Cabot. We're probably going to do a insert other last names here that I'm not going to say, but like
Mm-hmm.
load the links, we're going to do one for, etc., etc. So, um, we will make some really cool, really neat house sigils
Yeah, and if you
on
want,
Saturday.
if you don't know her art, like it's amazing. I've said it many times. You have an eye for color that just matches my brain pattern. Um, I don't know what it is, but it just does. And yeah, so become a patron. Go watch the Twitch thing. Go to Threadless and get art. So I want to show you something else. So you saw my shirt. You saw this. I have this on a T-shirt as well. But I also want you to see this because this is my favorite thing I ever got from the Sanrixian Threadless shop. Okay. Yeah, I'm really pushing it, guys. Like I'm selling it. I'm selling stuff. This blanket.
Oh,
This
yeah.
blanket is fantastic.
The blankets are great. I mean, they are not cheap. I think they're like $60 for the smallest one, which would be like, this is from Joe Magician's shop, but it's
Mm-hmm.
my
I,
design.
I,
But
I have
like,
a
they have like the
I have that
Sherpa
on a T-shirt.
backing. They're fun. Like, really, really 10 out of 10 blankets. I really would recommend the blankets, the bags, the duvet covers. I have a shower mat from them. The
Yeah.
t-shirts, you have to wash them correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Let me shame you now, all of you here in chat. You wash them inside out on cold. You hang dry, and I don't want to hear about it.
Right. Undertaker says that he wore your merch in Vancouver and people liked it.
Really? That's awesome. I've
I
heard
mean,
people
hey,
say, "What band shirt is that?" For the Greyjoy one. I can't remember who got that, but people have had. Oh, that's cool. People have had like all kinds of comments. I've seen Sanri merch in the wild that I haven't shipped before since I've got Threadless, which has been really, really interesting and really, really crazy. Like I saw some lady walking in New York with a Night Gather shirts on. And I was like, "Hey, cool shirt," and she was like, "What?" And I was like, "Your shirt's really cool." And she was like, "Like, who are you? Who are you? I want to know who you are."
right?
It's insane.
It is. So first of all, hi Wheezing, thank you. Official timekeeper
Thank you,
of
Weasley.
Here Be Dragons. She will let you know when it's 20 past the hour every
Thank
time.
you, Weasley. Praise be his name.
Right. Oh dang it, I lost what I was gonna say. Hmm. Nope, it's gone. It'll come back in a minute. So full disclosure, I tried to watch the old interview with you and I was gonna make notes and I got about 12 minutes in and I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Nope.
Did you try to watch it?
No, but I've watched it enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
I know.
so Con of Thrones 2019, right?
Right.
What maybe one of the best weekends of my life. For a lot of reasons. I had some fantastic interactions with a lot of people. And I want to say too, like, I didn't meet John at the con, but like, if we hadn't both been there, I never would have met him. And like, that's John. That's my internet husband, Like, okay, I'm, look, even, look, I'm just gonna say, little baby John is
Oh
fine.
no.
He's
Oh
back
god.
with his mom, and so like we're gonna leave that in the past, and just we're not gonna like drag that up too much. Actually, we are gonna drag that up too much. Um, I would love to hear this story from your perspective.
Okay. Um I
I'm
remember
This is
being on the patio with
mhm.
some dude who calls himself Tarzan, and I think Tony Teflon was out there and filled the issues guy, and Courtney Maza, and you were out there, and that Tarzan dude looks at
It
me,
was
and the
like
baby, your
the
baby was
smoking
just,
area
yeah, it was a
outside.
smoke. Everybody was like smoking. I had my little vape puff, and we were all having just a cordial time, and your baby was just sitting out there, and Tarzan looks at me, he's like, steal that baby, and I was like, well, duh.
So for
So
so
I
I
don't remember.
For those of you that don't know, I was in a full Lyanna Stark cosplay. I was in a
Yes.
dress. I had my famous flower crown, and I had this baby doll wrapped in red and black, Targaryen colors, Targaryen
In a
baby.
backpack. In a
And,
backpack.
right. But like when you've
Like
been cosplaying,
abandoned in a backpack on a chair away while like this is
okay,
important.
okay, but it's also
The
important that it was
framing.
like 5 p.m. and I had been carrying this damn thing all
True.
day. So now, yeah, so my baby is not in my hands, but go ahead.
So me and Courtney decided it'd be really funny if we kidnapped your baby, urged on by Tarzan, and I wrote a ransom note for like beer, not knowing you weren't a drinker, just like thinking this will be funny. We can all have a beer and laugh later when, like we give the baby back. I don't remember, Stephen, what we did with the baby at all.
I think
It's
you
going.
stuck it in Courtney's bag.
Yes, Courtney was my accomplice. That's right. She had the baby. I never held the baby, so I'm not
But
responsible.
the
Just
note
like
was,
I stole Rhaegal's egg from Shakes of Thrones, but
mhm.
not on purpose. Um,
But you
and
did write the note.
I did write the note
The ransom
because I
for
was the only one with a pen and a piece of paper in my bag.
Jon
It was
Snow's
a six
ransom
pack.
was a 6 pack of beer.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
It made
And
sense.
so I walked all the way down to the end of the convention center where they had a little convenience store, and I bought a 6 pack of beer, and I ransomed my baby.
Mm-hmm. And your baby was returned, and we
Hmm.
tried to give you one of the beers, and you were like, "No, thank you." So we gave it to Shakes of Thrones. No
Right?
problem. Mary had one of those beers too. I had one of those beers. I don't remember. Courtney definitely had one of those beers. Everybody had a beer. It was a nice
Yeah.
little time.
Yeah. And it was one of those, like, it's difficult to articulate if I might get a little bit like sentimental for a moment. As someone who experiences some pretty extreme social anxiety, as well as like imposter syndrome, the feeling of being included by that, like, oh, they're playing a joke on me, like friends do. It was one of those moments that makes it one of those weekends. That's why I love the con so much, because all of that self doubt really starts to just evaporate over that weekend, and it's such a wonderful thing. Um, Maybe that's why I like you so much. I've only really been in your presence at the convention. That's not true. I had dinner with you one time because I was on the road for work.
Yeah, we went to Oklahoma Joe's. No, like the more time goes on and the more like I spend time with people that I've been online. Like, I mean, I've had Aaron to my house multiple times. I've
Right.
had Maddie to my house. I'm engaged with to a guy I basically met on the internet. Like, like in our circle. Like, I'm just a person, and I am just a human being, and I like having fun, and I like playing pranks and I like doing shenanigans. And I hate that I even have to say these things. Like, I know I'm Sanri and everything, but like, I'm just, I'm just Sanri.
Yeah,
Like,
you really are.
I'm
Like, here's
just
the
Sanri.
thing.
Like,
I
you want
I
to talk
think
about Pokemon? You want to eat some meat? Like, let's talk about German cooking. Like,
I have no interest in German cooking. Actually, that's not true at all.
that's
The
my
Germans
cabinet
actually do
reference.
make some pretty badass food, depending on what we're talking about. Um,
Hmm.
but like, I think about it because we actually started becoming friends because of Con of Thrones 2018,
Hmm.
where we actually met and like we kind of like just became friends. So when I interviewed you, we had been friends for like 9 months, and now we've been friends for like 4.5 years. And that's got a whole different feel to it. Like, there are questions that I can't even think to ask you right now because, like, the answer is already in the back of my brain. So, with that in mind, I would like to say to the chat, if you have a question for Sanri, just feel free to ask. Go ahead and
Shout
tag
them out
me.
when you know them.
Yeah, at me, and like, we're all friends here, so be respectful, but like, and there are subjects that I will just know we're not talking about that. You guys,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think you guys all get it. So if you have a question, feel free to, you know, throw it at her. In the meantime, I would like to ask, I would like to steer it to a slightly different way. Uh, this last year, I have watched two animated shows that really, really spoke to me, right?
Okay.
And you are an animator. Um, I I think animation is at a critical crossroads, and maybe you can speak to this. And I would love to get your more like professional opinion. Animators
Yep.
are overworked, and they're doing better things than have ever been done.
Hmm.
So it's kind of a double whammy of like, and then you've got this AI art thing as well, which is driving me crazy. Yeah. Do you want to speak to any of that, or tell people why
So
AI art is bad? Because that's actually like the thing that's got me the most angry right now.
okay. Okay, so if you want to talk about AI art, the one that we're talking about the most is based on this technology called Stable Diffusion, which is the AI process that makes it, right? So Lenza is using this. A lot of the popular ones that you see on TikTok are using this. That sources its content, it learns from artists without their consent. That is the biggest problem with it. I think that AR art can be used as a tool for concept. I think that it is beautiful. I think that it is interesting. However, when it's sourcing from people's life's work without their consent, that's when it becomes a problem because there are artists that have passed that no longer have the option to bow out of this. DeviantArt actually took up a stance when its user base said, no, please disclose our content from that. Please don't do that. Where they're opting out by default when previously it was opting in by default. ArtStation is kind of in the shit because they are actually supporting AI. The problem is it is taking from artists their life's work. So the hours, the thousands and thousands of hours that people spend developing their style, so that when you look at something and you can be like, oh, that's a Picasso. Oh, that's a Loish. Like, oh, that's from Bruce Timm. That style that people have worked their whole life to develop is being copied. So when you look at art and you think that it turns out good, remember that that is usually taking from somebody without their consent. I do not know a single artist that I respect that I follow on any social media platform that has been in favor of it. I don't want to say like, oh my god, it's destroying jobs, but like really it's it's big companies and capitalism trying to not spend any money on art, not valuing art, not understanding that it costs money. And this is something that I've seen as a professional 3D artist, as working in the television animation industry, and as working as a freelancer. People do not understand how much art costs, like how much time it takes to do things, especially like the more complicated and the more realistic, that's more time. So that's an umbrella of why AI art is not my favorite thing in the world, why it's hurting people. There's a lot of arguments that people make against it. I would say, like, the ones I've seen from the same flavor of tech bros as NFT slash crypto bros. Their argument is, oh, like, I'm disabled and AI art allows me to make art. No, excuse you. That completely ignores the entire disabled art making community. um, just flat out full stop. And if you actually look at those posts when they pop up on Twitter, on Reddit, on Instagram, on wherever, you can see actual real disabled artists commenting like, excuse me, here's my shop, here's what I've been doing for the past etc amount of time.
Yeah,
So it's
I don't need to say this again, but like, pay your artists, people. Always pay for your art. I have paid an artist several times. I have contracted you a few times.
yep.
Um, I've worked with other artists that we both know a couple of times. Um,
hmm
Pay for your art. And
yeah,
the
it's
thing, and the thing is, like, I could probably go to an AI art thing and say, make me this, and I could use that art. Uh, but like, it's not what I'm asking for either.
it's also like that's fair and that has a place. Like, I don't want to like discourage people from doing that as a form of experimentation or doing that as a form of like for inspiration, because I do understand that sometimes you can't afford to pay an artist for a specific idea for commission, but you also have the ability to try it yourself. You also have the ability to try to write something, and if you're using it for inspiration and keeping it privately and not like putting it out there for a profit, I feel like that's much less harmful.
Hmm.
And like, I feel like it just needs to be pointed out to people because a lot of people don't understand that it can be harmful, or like what we're really looking at and what we're really facing and dealing with this. Because especially in these last shit like 3 years since we did the last interview, Steven, there was no NFTs, there was no crypto, there was, well, there were NFTs, but they were very different. There was no, the crypto was
Ooh,
very different. AI art was not a thing. Like all this shit that has popped up has been
yeah, like it's a
wild for my
it,
community.
it really is. Well, and it's like not just your community, the world as a whole. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we were in a bad era, but oh, I hope she comes back real soon. You know what though? That's a good place to let that stop for just a minute anyway. Oh, you're back already. Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
But yeah, so AI art bad. Well, here's the thing. Not all AI art as a concept not bad. Monetizing AI art that doesn't compensate the original artist, because it makes the art by looking at other art and then trying to make something out of that.
It copies stuff down to, like, I've seen it trying to imitate specific signatures. Like,
Yeah, like
you can
watermarks
put
and
like yeah, like, if you, I'm not saying that I have the notoriety where any AI art would try to copy like my style, but like I do have a very distinguishable watermark that like would eventually like try to be replicated. It's like a blocky black and white image. Like, that's not something really that hard for AI to replicate. And again, I think it can be powerful for concepting, but then that yeah, Skynet's coming for me, Pater. You don't
stuff.
even know. Like, but it's just like for concepting, I think it can be powerful, but at the same time, I've seen concept artists just in my field, just for the people that I worked with at Floyd County that we do the backgrounds for Archer.
Hmm.
They would throw together stuff in a couple hours from reference photos, and concept art in itself is mashing of different elements together. So they'd throw something together that would be workable for me, and I could take that and turn it into a 3D environment. Yeah, those 3 to 5 hours that they spent doing that cost the company their salary if they're hourly at that rate, but still, that's better than what AI would do, in my opinion. So it just like it's starting to get real and it's starting to get scary.
Yeah. Here's the thing, like the demand for quality artists, I don't think will ever really go away. You know?
Yeah, but people's willingness to pay them and their willingness to say pay $12 to Lenza for 8 to 10 portraits versus spending $60 on one portrait from a quality or artist, that is the challenge. That
Yeah.
is the struggle that we're all facing, because how do we value our time when people don't value it?
Well, we do
And
that.
I'm very go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Like, I mean, I do my part. I'm a patron. I patronize not just like Patreon patron, but like I have. You've done commissions for me. I have had commissions from other artists. You have commissioned other artists, um, and that's how you do it. So, I think that's enough of a commercial for Sanri swag. Get your stuff. When are your commissions open soon?
Commissions will be open probably mid to late January. I'm just trying to clear out another little batch and then they'll be open. So I have been able and been so blessed by this community with who has hired me. Nessie's hired me to do her branding for your YouTube channel. John has. John was very patient with me when I was so busy at Trinity and waited a very long time for me to get him his banners. So thank you. Now it's kind of like my full time thing and I can turn stuff around a lot quicker.
Hmm.
I'm working on a logo right now for the Kiss by Fire podcast with Steph and B Word from Twitter. They're brand new, so we're working on that. But yeah, I have this opportunity to do all of these things I really enjoy. So those will be open soon. Please feel free to fill out a form at any time. And if anything does come up, I can always hold your place for later. Like if something, financially happens, wink, nudge. But always here for you guys. Happy to do it. So happy to do it. And Patreon. But yes, please, Stephen, ask me more different questions.
Okay, more other different ones. So I was saying two of my favorite shows that came out this year were um, animated shows,
Yes.
specifically The Legend of Vox Machina
Mhm.
and Arcane. Have you seen either of those shows?
Okay, I've watched part of Vox Machina, and the little gnome man and his usage of slurs made me not want to watch any more of it.
Okay.
But I thought that the animation was pretty damn good. And I've seen Arcane's I want to say like teasers and trailers and stuff enough to know that it's very beautiful and very well done. However, I have not seen it because I'm not ready to commit to League of Legends yet. You know what I
Don't
mean? I'm
commit to
just
League of
like,
Legends, commit to Arcane. That is it.
okay.
You don't have to
I
commit
know.
to anything else.
Well, you know our mutual friend Jinx.
I do.
That was my introduction to the name Jinx. And
Mhm.
then, like this year, I learned that she took her name from Arcane because she had pink hair and blue eyes, while Jinx has
Blue hair and pink
pink
eye.
eyes and blue hair. Yeah,
Right.
there we go. Yeah. So I was like, I don't know if I want to ruin my perception of this right now, but I will watch it one day. I sure will. Maybe when season 2 comes out.
Oh, this is lovely, by the way. And see, this is the same type of thing I'm talking about. John, I'm going to embarrass you just a little bit, but yeah, like John says he thanks you for letting him sit at your booth at Ice and Fire Con. It made him feel included. And again, it's that inclusivity that really I only ever feel at the con.
Well, let me just say that I have a lot of friends who need to sit down sometimes. So I always have extra chairs and I have at least 2 helpers with me now at cons. So I always have at least 3 to 5 chairs. So if you come to my table and you're planning on being there for a minute, I'm going to make you sit down and hang out. And then you get to be an honorary booth babe. And John was a very good booth babe, and I really appreciated him. Micah, also great booth babe. Steven kept leaving his Mountain Dew bottles on my table, and I almost murdered him.
As one does. Look,
Ice and Fire God.
I am no booth babe.
There was a brand new Mountain Dew
I am
that
the
sat
easy.
there. You were the evil booth babe.
No, I am the easily distracted brother. I might
It's okay.
have some ADHD.
It's
You know,
okay. I got to give you back Mountain Dews, and you had surprise Mountain Dews a couple times,
I
which just
did.
really
Oh, it was
it brought you
wonderful. Like
joy. So it
worked,
worked out.
worked out for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did not. I didn't linger anywhere that whole weekend. It's just not how I approached the whole thing. But I probably came by your booth about 14 times.
Yeah. You like to tell people that the Grey King was based on you.
I
And you also bought the last Grey King print. And I was like, well, one of those things is true, Steven.
Oh, really? Am I
Not
wrong?
intentionally. I didn't intentionally paint it to
You know
be
what?
you.
Damn it!
But
Now it's public, and it can never be unheard. You, my world is shattered. Oh well. I still think he looks like me.
he does look like you. He's in your spirit for sure.
Right.
Well, it's like people said that the Drogon and Danny print I did was Jinx, and I was like, that's not intentional. But like if that's what the fandom believes, like the pink letter, that's what the fandom believes.
I
So
just
that's Jinx, and the Grey King is you.
I see it for both of them.
There you go.
And I'm usually the last one to see myself in anything, you know?
Yeah, that's
Um,
true. I did tell K2 she wasn't allowed to buy anything else because she has like one of everything from my threadless.
right. Um, you know what though? I think this is as good a time as any because that animation conversation went nowhere. Um, I just wanted to scroll up and grab some of these questions that came in earlier because there were some good ones. Emily has a really great one. Sanri is part of a lot of fandoms. This is true. What made you settle on A Song of Ice and Fire as your main professional fandom for making art?
Well, I think it's because currently, right now, most of you know me this way. So I'm like, hey, obviously, we all started in Aswath. That's what brought us together. But what if Pokemon? And what if, whatever else, D&D we've talked about, like, we've done things. So it's kind of like our home base, but we're all really nerdy. I know a lot of people like the Expanse. I know a lot of people like Succession. I know a lot of people like Euphoria. I know a lot of people like His Dark Materials in our fandom. Like we have little pockets and little windows into other things. I
Mm-hmm.
know there's a huge Fire Emblem crossover with especially our Ice and Firecon friends. Like there was a whole Three Houses slash Aswath crossover character thing that was happening around the tournament. So just like, yeah, I know I'm learning it. I'm learning it. But there's a lot of different crossovers in our fandom. So it's like, it's kind of like a home base. It's what brought us all together. It's the tie that binds. So that's kind of why it's the
It,
decision that,
it also has dragons and wolves,
yeah,
like as a big part of it, and I believe that is you've I've heard you say that is your favorite thing to draw is dragons and
yeah,
wolves.
yeah. It's
So
kind of like when I don't know what I'm doing, if I need to draw something, it's going to be a dragon or it's going to be a wolf. Here you go.
or lately it's going to be something writing something else.
No, that is what y'all always request on the streams is how do I get a twofer for Sanri art? This thing writing this other thing. And it goes back to the early days on the other streams that it was always something writing something. Like I had a Brienne writing a unicorn request that I know Julie Beth, for instance, really liked. So there's always like something writing something. Y'all are notorious.
Yeah.
Horse riding a bicycle
Horse riding
without
bicycle.
reference.
Like that's out there. You can go find it. I have that safely tucked away. If you're ever on Zoom with me, you've seen it. Like if you've been on Zoom lately, it's my avatar because I love that my derpy little horse riding a bicycle. Um, Kartik has a really excellent question. How do you draw fingers?
Um, I draw like this part as like a square, and then these are all sticks, and then I fill them in, if that makes sense.
So there you go.
Um, it's also one of those things where AI art can't get right either.
Hmm.
So, like they also can't draw hands or legs.
Or feet.
It's an Yeah,
Feet are
I'm
extra.
very bad
Feet
at
are
legs.
extra. Everybody wears socks. Feet are extra.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my rules as an artist.
What's his face? Who made Cable? Could never draw. Rob Liefeld,
Hmm.
the worst, worst comic book artist ever. Gotta say that.
Okay.
Bold statement, but it's true.
We'll move on from that controversial statement. I am not educated enough to refute. I, but I think this is a really excellent question. Potter, who I would expect to give us a very trolly question, actually has a fantastic, legit question.
Oh, Potter.
I'm actually surprised. Good job, man. So, if you could showrun and animate any existing universe that hasn't been done recently, what would it be?
Well, obviously, like we're gonna do an Aswaf animated universe, like through the lens of like Darkstar. Like we're gonna make some goofy shit. Like that'd be so good. Honestly, like somebody, I think it was Brian Morgan on Twitter, who goes back to like the very early days of when I had my shop and I ran it myself and I shipped individual shirts and they all came on one color and you couldn't get anything but a t-shirt. Um, he asked me, or he said something along the lines of like, you should direct a Conquerors series, which would be, of course, Aegon, Visenya, and Rhaenys.
Mm-hmm.
That would be so much fun to make it correct and to make it crazy and to add like future dragons, to have things like that, to go into Aenys and then Maegor. Great. I'd love to do that. I'm a big Tiana the Tower fan. You know that. You met me
Uh-huh.
when I was dressed as Tiana.
Mm-hmm. That is the
But
cosplay you were wearing when you attacked me in public.
yes, that is true. But like I think that would be really fun. I'd also really like to do a Balto remake. That
Oh.
movie was incredible. I love that movie. It was one of my favorites growing up. I think a Little Bear like remake would be really fun too. I always kind of wanted to do children's literature like covers before I got into animation. And then when I got into animation, I worked in the world of adult TV animation. So anything for like kids, I feel like would be really neat. But also,
Okay.
I'm never going to ignore the Aswaf roots or the fantasy roots. Dragon Riders of Pern would be another one that I'd like to tell because I don't think it's ever gotten a real TV show or a real, like,
I was passingly aware of those books even back when I was in school, but I it was not what I read back then. Like I was afraid to do anything too fantasy because I was a D&D nerd and like I didn't need that shit getting out. You know what I mean?
sure.
I was in the closet as it were. I'm out and proud now, y'all, but anyway, I really like this. You already answered it in the chat, but like who is your favorite dragon? And I will ask a follow-up question.
Vagar.
Vagar. Why is Vagar your favorite dragon?
Visenya.
Okay.
Also, she. So I got really into the weeds during House of the Dragon, doing and updating my dragon spreadsheet and being summoned upon in every avenue of the fandom to answer dragon questions. And I was constantly looking to the histories, like, you know, like how many dragons were alive at this time, what was going on with them, where were they, what were their ages, who was probably the mother, who was probably the father of the future dragons. There's a point where there's only Meraxes, Balerion, and Vagar. All the other dragons that came over from Old Valeria have passed away.
Mm-hmm.
So Vagar would potentially be the mother of the future dragons that exist. So that's really cool. That makes her really interesting in my eyes. I like these shows version of her where they've like taken any kind of horns or protrusions or anything else that she would have possibly had on her and made her just into old Mima Vagar, and she's just an old granny. And hi Christina. Um, it's just like she is become like an elder dragon, like, but she's still powerful. She's still a force. She's still awesome. I think that's just super interesting. I don't know, however, if that's 100% accurate at this point because of all of George's weird shit that he writes in there with dragons. It's like he wants to have a pool of dragons that he can pull from at any time. A really good, for instance, is at the point where Jaehaerys and Alysanne go to the wall. They say that they take 6 dragons, Silverwing and Vermithor and who. The only other dragons we have named at that point would be like Ali and Balon's dragons, which at that point would be Vhagar and Melee's and Caraxes even. Like, so where are they? What are they doing? It's just, I think George kind of like leaves it open ended. So I'm kind of like, there could be other dragons. So I don't know if my Vhagar theory is real, is what I'm getting at, but I like it, and that's why I like her.
I've got
Follow up
no
question,
problem with
but
any of that. I've got no problem with any of that. I loved because you've done it. You did a couple of different like Granny Vhagar sketches that I saw on various formats, and like it's just funny to see a dragon wearing the horn rimmed glasses with the white poof of hair. Fantastic.
thank you.
Um, I I know you as a legit, very talented artist who can do a lot of things, but I also know you as somebody who's not afraid to be ridiculous in your art, and I love that quality too. Like Mother of Dragons, also Mother of Derpgons, and yeah, so
We can't forget the Derpgons. The Derpgons brought us all together.
they really
Um,
did.
and that's what one of the joys of going back to streams and streaming in my own way that I'm really having a great time with is nobody can tell me that I can't draw stupid things like our friend Chris Cabot as a cabinet. Like nobody can tell me I can't do that. This
Hmm.
is what I'm gonna do. I'm
Yeah,
gonna waste 5 minutes like doing this, and we're gonna have a great time, and we're gonna laugh about it.
drawing
Nobody can
a sexy cabinet.
sexy cabinet. Yeah,
It
like
was fantastic.
so silly. It was good. It was a good time.
So yeah, and that is on your Twitch, which is also linked in the description. So yeah,
Yes.
come watch that stuff. Um, so we, uh, I am just getting over being ill, and I know that you are in the midst of maybe getting better, maybe not. We'll see.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for every moment you've given us so far. We've been going for not quite an hour, but I'll go ahead and do the mid roll. And I also want to give you a good let everybody know that I'm probably finally okay after about 3 weeks of being sick, and you might be in the middle of being sick. So we want you to be comfortable when it's time to go. It's time to go. But I'm going to sneak in a mid roll right now, okay? And we'll start with hi everybody. This is a YouTube channel, which means you should hit the thumbs up button, the like button, subscribe to the channel, uh, tell your other nerdy friends about it. And yeah, so we will be doing something next week. I think I'm going to try to convince John to do a recap review of season 1 of Star Wars The Bad Batch, because the new season of The Bad Batch is about, well, like I think the first couple of episodes are out. Everybody's raving about it. I need to get caught up. So next week, Star Wars The Bad Batch. The week after that, probably maybe something to do with Vox Machina season 2. Maybe not. I've got a conversation about the future of D&D coming soon that I actually think, even if you're not a D&D person, you'll be interested in, because it touches on finance and late stage capitalism, and I'm going to bitch and moan for a while. It's I'm going to be a lot more negative than I normally am. So, yeah, that's coming soon too. But I think next week we'll try to do the Bad Batch season 1. Um, and then what's after that? We're not sure, but we'll see. You nailed it, Christina. It is about their new licensing. I think they are. I'm going to save it for the stream. It bad. It bad. But yeah, so look forward to that stuff coming up soon in the coming weeks. Got to make sure we thank our patrons, including our alpha patrons, the great Wyrms, the great worm dragons themselves, ridiculous Ed Tollett, our alpha patron, as well as Lord John Bronsteen the Wise. Thank you. All praise to the great worm dragons. They are supported by the court of the elder dragons, which includes the Cloaked One of the Underworld, Ryan Stavka, the Russian quartermaster, Reflective Rambling, Arch-Maester Emma, Kate, Mistress of the House of Books, Jared Kozal, Doctor of Dragons, Lady Maura Lee of Starfall, and Lady Rita, the Unbound. Thank you, patrons. We love you guys. If you would like to be a patron, buried somewhere further down the list of links in the description, you will find a link to Patreon for this channel. And yeah, we've already said you have a stream coming this Saturday, but is there anything else you'd like to hype? I mean, I feel like we kind of, had a nice long buy Sanri stuff commercial, but is there anything else you're working on that we haven't talked
about? Excuse me. Sorry, I had a bit of a coughing fit while you were doing your patron role. Excuse me.
Oh no.
No, not really. I am working towards the goal of getting a certain amount per month, which will allow me to do Sticker Club on Patreon, which will be like a free amount of stickers for my two highest level patrons, which are slots, which are $10 and $25. So just trying to get towards that is primarily my goal right now. There's not much else at the moment that I can hype.
And I will say, like, one of the big perks of being a patron of Sanrixian is that when she does her live streams, she draws stuff for her patrons. So you can have her draw a horse riding a bicycle, or Granny Vagar, or what?
Pretty much anything you want.
Some
you can
dragon wasn't riding something, but he was fishing.
Grey Ghost fishing.
Grey
that
Ghost
was egg patron request. We're gonna have Emily back the following week. So the 21st will be me and Ghost Green drawing Aswaf characters from memory. So
okay,
that's gonna be a fun one.
Oof. Just don't have Micah suggest a character.
Oh no, he's banned.
He's banned.
Morna, my white mask. One line in the books.
Unless it's
just kidding. He can suggest things.
I've got an evil one for you, but like I won't say it now, but I'm gonna just keep it loaded in my back pocket. Oh man, you look like you're having a rough go there, buddy. I'll just talk for a minute. I see you, Micah. So I guess that's it for the mid-roll. Again, next week, Bad Batch. Week after that, I'm not sure. I got to get with Nessie too, see what she wants to be a part of. So, yes, Sanri can draw minor characters. It's not like she's incapable, but if you get a character name and you have to draw it from memory, like there are 2,000 characters in A Song of Ice and Fire? There's like 20 characters named John in A Song of Ice and Fire. So, yeah. Hey, buddy, are you all right there? Are you still there? Okay. Well, I could tell she was having a pretty bad coughing fit. Yeah, so I'm looking through the chat now. Trying to catch up on the chat. You guys are keeping it rolling.
I'm so sorry, Steven. I could not breathe for a second there.
Look, just get over
it. Lots of talking.
Just get over it. Like, stop coughing and like,
right.
Come on, be a professional.
But I will say this. The way that I really enjoy doing my challenge draw this from memory, including Pokemon from memory or Aswaf characters from memory, is if you can name something like really fun or interesting about them, then that becomes the enjoyable part. My favorite stream I've ever done was for Ice and Fire Con. Uh, we had a virtual 2020 event, and I did it with Davos Fingers and Radio Westeros.
Mm.
And I asked Yolkboy and Lady Gwen, name a character. And Lady Gwen starts describing Mark Mullendore, and I'm like, I have no idea who this dude is. So I just start drawing average Joe, you know. And then Yolkboy goes, he's got a monkey, and the monkey wears chainmail. And I'm like, instantly pivot to drawing this giant fucking monkey with chainmail with a tiny Mark Mullendore in his background. And it like spawned a Twitter account, and we like tried to get Davos Fingers to like put him in the bracket. Like that
Mhm.
kind of shit is the fun ass off for from memory character crap. So, as an example, Micah, here you go.
Right. Right. Mark Mullendore's monkey who wears like I remember that.
Right.
I was there for that stream. Fantastic.
It was a good time.
Man, you brought up Davos Fingers and it made me think sometimes I have t-shirts and I forget that you did them. Like you brought
Oh
up the
yeah.
ass waffle one earlier and I'm like, yeah, I have that one. But I also have the like Nimble Dick Crab 2021.
Mm-hmm. And then I have a what's his face? I'm blanking. Arya's mentor, played by Miltos.
Oh, yeah. Oh
What do
god.
we say? The God of Death.
Yeah. The former first sword of
Sirio Farrell.
that's it. That's him.
I have a Serial Pharrell because Miltos on Twitter asked me to do that. So I did. And he didn't win, but A Song of Madness is a rigged bullshit game. And it makes me very angry every year, so I don't participate anymore. But yeah, no, like remember a couple years there have been bots and things, and I'm just like, why do you
Hmm.
guys have to take the joy
Yeah,
out of this?
basically, I feel like it can be mostly laid at the feet of one character's stan culture, but I don't need to go. I don't need to go into that any further. But the Davos Fingers guys are great, and it sounds. But yeah, I get it. Like, draw this guy, nothing. See, I have a good one because I think the name says. I think the name alone is fantastic, and it is a real character in A Song of Ice and Fire, not portrayed in the show.
Okay,
But I'll save that for later.
just save it. Yeah.
Um, so you want to do a Conquerors show? What do you think the
Sure.
highlights of that show are? Like season one.
Just
What are
then,
we
yeah.
seeing in season one? Is it 10 episodes, 20 minutes?
I would say maybe 26 minutes the
Okay.
most per episode, maybe 8 to 10
Yeah, yeah,
episodes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
That could do pretty good. Um, I would say like maybe we have a couple episodes of backstory, like 3 episodes of like coming over from old Valeria and like setup. And then the end of season one would be like maybe making the Aegon fort. And then like season two could be like um I would say maybe 3 seasons to get like to start to get towards Dorne. Season two could be like the first try to conquer Dorne or something like
Mm-hmm,
that. But
mm-hmm,
like
mm-hmm.
I just think that
Now, I will watch.
Aegon one is such an enigma, and I'd like to like pay a
Yeah,
group of people to write about him.
that's really great. Makes me think of a total a question I wouldn't have asked otherwise. How do you feel about? Oh, it's all right. How do you feel about the lore that House of the Dragon brought to us regarding Aegon? Yeah, sure. It's fine. I get it. You're sick. Look, you don't even I'm just happy you're here.
I'm doing my best. I'm probably gonna make it to like 30 more minutes, and then we're gonna have to call this. But
Whenever you
um,
need to go,
the
buddy.
lore. Okay, So, if I'm being really honest, at
Please.
first I hated it, and I was like, I don't, what the fuck is this? Like, Aegon's dream, blah blah blah, song of ice and fire, retconning the dagger, and I was like, I don't. And now I'm like, okay, but wait, but what if? And I've heard all kinds of super fun, super interesting things from the fandom. Like, I think I heard it from our friend Egg first, that what if it was Rhaenys's dagger? Because we have Darkseid's sister belonging to Visenya, we have Blackfire belonging to Aegon. What if that was Rhaenys's dagger? And she was the one who was the dreamer in that triad. And I was like, okay, cool, but obviously this would be Aegon One's dream. So it kind of, I kind of like don't exactly 100% follow it, but I think that it's super interesting. And I also think that it's something that George is thinking about, because our friends Aziz and Ashea from the History of Westeros podcast interviewed George.
Mm-hmm.
And he had above like his entryway into like his library or out of his main house, I can't remember which one, he had that dagger like hung there in a place of importance. So I'm like, who, what's he trying to say? Like, what's it gonna be? Is it really Lightbringer? Like, is that like the metaphorical Lightbringer? Is that the dagger that it's all gonna come down to in some other weird way? But I don't know. I think it's fascinating. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
So you're okay with it now.
I'm okay with it now. I didn't like it at first. I'm
Mm-hmm.
okay with it now, and I think that it makes an interesting twist on like why some of the decisions are made, especially with like what we're seeing with Rhaenyra, like telling Daemon like the Song of Ice and Fire, and he's like, "What the fuck are you talking about, girl?" And it's like, "Oh shit!" Like it complicates things. It makes it more interesting. Like that sense of duty. It kind of ties them towards the Stark, so that Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon are kind of like more of a mirror, is what I'm seeing. That's
Yeah,
what I'll say.
I like it. I like it. My biggest complaint about House of the Dragon: not enough Starks.
We get that next season, right?
Maybe. Well, we're gonna get a Stark at some point, and it's
How
gonna
do you
be.
feel about that?
I'm
How do you
fine
feel
with it.
about Kragan?
Well,
Not Cregan.
I kind of,
Kragan.
like he's not he's not even gonna make my top five
Oh, I think he will.
Starks. But like, okay, so my top five are like Ned. Okay, gotta give me Ned. I love Ned's two daughters. Okay, okay, but like, like he might make top five historical Starks, but like my top two are Torrin and Theon Stark. I love both of those guys. They're very different guys, but I like both of them. Uh, for those of you that aren't sure, Torrin Stark is the king who knelt to Aegon the
Mm-hmm.
Conqueror, and Theon Stark is the guy that sailed to Essos during the Andal invasion and left like heads on like Andal heads on pikes in Andalos, and basically don't come back here. I like both of those guys. They're fun.
So, do you think like Aegon showed up to Torin and was like, the fucking others, man? And
Maybe.
like Torin was like, yeah, man. And like that's why he knelt. Like,
You know what? That is actually a fantastic theory. I hadn't
I
even
mean, like
thought of.
I've heard that. I've heard that like in the fandom. I really bad with like remembering where these tweets I see come from, but like I've heard that tossed around. Like, do you think like with this new information, quote unquote, from House of the Dragon, which George has said there's show canon and there's book canon, so we don't know, but
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Like the Aegon's dream means nothing about the books at all, and I'm fine with that. But like, it's inspired by that canon, but it's not that like the show doesn't really have anything to do with the books directly. Indirectly, sure, but like you can't, it's not canon doesn't flow that direction,
Right.
and they're only bringing what they need to inform the canon that they're building. So yeah, and I'm usually pretty good at separating this is that thing and this is that thing. Some things I'm very precious about, but for the most part, and I kind of like the idea that Aegon was a reluctant conqueror.
Just reluctantly doing a couple war crimes.
Yep. I mean, I'm not trying to say what he did was right or good in any way, but I like that he was maybe reluctant.
Well, I have admitted how much I love Visenya, and we're not going to pretend that Visenya is like a good character.
No.
Like she's great at her best, but like she's fascinating to me, and she's like the sorceress. And it's like, what if Aegon like did this because he truly had a vision? That makes him very more interesting and more dynamic than just like brute conquering land. Like I like to see the backgrounds. Like my biggest complaint, I would say, of about House of the Dragon Twitter was that people forgot that the reason we loved Game of Thrones was because everybody was gray, and now we're being taken what we were given, which was a very black and white perspective in the books of what we thought was good and what we thought was bad, and we were being shown the gray to all of it, and it's like let's be excited about these new possibilities
Hmm.
and talk about them instead of yelling at each other about what we used to know. Like,
Yeah, I'm really glad that that's not the sort of thing that happened like in our little corner of the internet. Like the people that I know, the people in our chat, that's not, we don't go there. You know, if you don't like the show, don't bother talking about it. You know,
I'm just
um,
talking about from a wider perspective of like being online during this time
yeah.
and
Well,
being on the internet and in the discourse. You know what I mean?
Obi's got a great point. Seeing Cragen fleshed out with a good actor will go a long way. Just how like Viserys went from meh to great character on the show. Yeah, and the thing is, he didn't become a better person through that portrayal, but he became such an interesting character in a way that the like historical. He was kind of a do nothing king. The historical account from uh, Fire and Blood. But yeah, I think you're right because I went into the show pretty solidly a black and came out still a black, but like really half hearted about it.
I mean, I made those shirts like very early into the
Mm-hmm.
season drop. Team Rhaenyra and Team Aegon, and I was like, you know, everybody who is on Team Aegon will be put on a list. And then I became less and less serious about that threat because I'm like, well, obviously we all like Aemond. Look at him.
Right,
He's just a little meow meow. Like
right.
he Vagar sees it, like Mima sees it. Come on, y'all. Like I did not expect to relate to half the characters I related to. I didn't expect to cry for Viserys the way I cried for Viserys. Like I really liked what they did. And it made my parents like they loved it so much that they went back and they watched all of Game of Thrones within the like last month and a half. They finished it like a day and a half ago. And like I think that's awesome because they had never had any interest in it before.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it's a different show than Game of Thrones, but it's definitely like a sister show. You know, it feels related.
Yeah.
But yeah, I they did a really great job of making me understand the greens and question the blacks in a way that I hadn't just from Fire and Blood.
Right.
Yep.
Like there are still things that make me like lean blacks, like the
Hmm.
way that Rhaenyra raises her children versus the way Allison raises her children. But I definitely was looking at it through a new lens and I appreciated it.
I agree, Laura. All the Emmys for Patty Considine. We all loved him. What and again, he didn't become a better person through that portrayal, but he became so human. He became a person who, like, I felt sorry for him because he was stuck. He was stuck being king,
He
and
definitely was.
and that and to for me to feel that coming off of him was fantastic. Did you have a favorite character from the show other than Aemond?
No, Eamon was definitely not my favorite character. Do not say that. That is not true, not correct. Um I would not say I had a favorite character. I liked all of the dragons the best.
Mm-hmm. All the
That's
dragons.
my answer. Caraxes, what a delight to see my little noodle child and his little neck and his wings and his little footer wings. Like, I really was pleased with the diversity in the dragons. It's like I said a secret wish and I was like, give me diverse dragons. And then all of a sudden, 16 diverse dragons. Now's the dragon. I'm like, Sanri is the most chosen of the day. Like, what a wonderful day for Sanri. It
And
really like
were you happy with the depiction of all the different dragons?
yes, I thought they did a very good job. I thought that there were things that like made them look like they could be related, but also like they were unique enough. Like Melee's, I thought was awesome. Very like almost dinosaur-y looking, like traditional dragon. But then like I took so many screenshots. I had Egg took a bunch of screenshots for Radio Westeros, and I was just like, send them to me. I need them. And I took my own to like figure out the designs. And Melee's has like these rows of spines like running down her neck, and like the crown of like horns was like the coolest thing ever. And I really appreciated every single one. Even Vermax and poor little Arax were so cute.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I
Yeah.
cannot wait to
Uh,
see
R.I.P.
Titharion.
Arax, you were a real one. That hurt my heart. I'm not gonna lie. And and
I'm
and,
still not over it.
and not for was it Luke? Like it
The
wasn't the
squeak.
kid. It wasn't the kid that hurt me. It was the dragon. I'm not gonna
It
lie.
was the dragon's squeak and the way it just became
Yeah,
chunks
like
and
chunks
just
fall. I was like, oh my gosh.
I I was standing up because I was so tense and I was just like this like the whole time. And then when that happened, I was like, and I couldn't like for 2 hours I went and I had to like moderate a stream right afterwards, and everybody was just like, what the fuck happened? And I remember I went to bed that night and I had the most awful nightmares of
Oh
just like
no.
chunks and meat rain, because it's a real thing that happened. Was meat rain. It happened in like the 1800s somewhere in Europe, and it was like vultures puking up like horse that rained down on people, but they thought it was like human flesh for a while. It was wild. Google meat rain. For a wild time, Google meat rain.
Okay. There you go. Do with that what you will. We are not responsible, guys. So I think we're gonna go for like maybe 10 more minutes. I know you're not feeling well.
I'm telling
Um,
people to Google meat rain.
you
How do
you
you
can
think that's
Google Meat Rain if you want to end up on an FBI list.
doing?
No, I'm kidding.
Oh.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
promise you, I listened to this. It was probably on BuzzFeed Unsolved. Um, it happened. It was a whole thing. But yeah, meat chunks raining from the sky, terrifying. 0 out of 10. Thank you, House of the Dragon, for my nightmares.
Yeah, it was awful. I will say my favorite depiction was Caraxes. And I am so looking forward to, shall we just say, the God's Eye. I
I'm
am.
not.
I mean, I'm not either. But like, come on, how rad is that going to look?
I mean,
Sorry,
like, it's the thing that I've been
sorry,
requested to
everyone.
draw
When I was a teenager,
most
rad
times.
meant that it was cool or good in some way. Just wanted to explain myself. Sorry, what, Sanri? Being
No,
stupid.
you're good. Meat rain. Um,
Me-
.com.
Ah,
I'm a menace. Why do you have me on? Why do you have me on? I'm the least professional.
no, you're not here because
Um,
you're professional. Look, people.
meatrain.com/Sanrixian. um,
I know
yeah,
what I'm
but
going to ask you to draw next week.
meat rain.
Hashtag meat rain.
Um, but for real, we were talking about Caraxes.
We were.
Caraxes, I thought was a real goofy looking motherfucker at first, and then I saw him flying, and I was like, yes, yes, I get it, I get it. And then like I heard the story about the scene with Jace, where Damon Damon takes Jace to go like have a conversation and impress upon him, like this is our family. This is us sticking up for Rhaenyra. Apparently he just picked up the little like Caraxes head and just took it with him and like improv the whole scene. That it was like Caraxes' big day out. I'm like, the fact that Matt Smith has that power to improv a scene with Caraxes and it makes it and it's great. I'm like, I love Caraxes. What a good noodle child. And they have those interviews of Matt Smith behind the scenes. Kentucky meat shower. Thank you. Yes. It was in Kentucky. It was not in Europe. It was in Kentucky.
Thank you. Is it
Thank you.
Lefrenick? I don't know how to say your name, but thank you for that. Appreciate that. I say I appreciate that. Like, thank you. Philosophically, thank you. Personally, like, I didn't need to know that it happened in Kentucky. Anyway, moving on.
Too close.
So, guys, we've got just a few minutes left. Throw some questions. I've got a quick and easy one for you. Team beard, team no beard.
Beard.
Okay.
Oh.
You hear that? Team beard.
I don't know the context, but I'm always going to go team beard because I bullied my fiance into a beard. I bullied John Webster into the beard on his icon, and it looks much better. Thank you. You're welcome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We are well established team beard. Most of us team beard.
I mean, like, if you don't think you're team beard, try a little beard, just for a little while.
How about meat beard? What is that? That do anything for you?
No. It smells. I don't want that. I don't want meat particles in a beard.
You know,
meat.
You know what I want to do? I want to do flower beard sometime. That would be fun.
Ice and fire con.
Yeah. Thing is, like, they'll fall. Yeah. I mean, I want to be pretty, but yeah. Come on, y'all. Give me a question for her. What is Kentucky known for something besides fried chicken? Let me tell you. I went to basic training in Kentucky, so it's famous for Fort Knox because that's where Fort Knox, Kentucky is, which is where they keep all the gold bullion, or used to. I don't think it's all there anymore.
Like bouillon, like chicken bouillon?
No, like gold bricks.
Okay. Oh, is that where bouillon gets its name?
It might mean like a brick.
Interesting. Kentucky Fried Bouillon.
Kentucky Fried Gold.
www.meatrain.com/herebedragon.
Oh my gosh. Kentucky Bluegrass, you're right.
Horse races happen in Kentucky. Emily has a cousin there that gets great bacon. They have good bacon in Kentucky.
Okay. Things are going off the chain in the chat.
You've lost control of the stream. It's all Meat Rain here on out.
Okay. Oh, you know what? There's a real question that I saw you asked earlier. Christine, thank you for asking again because it got away from me. Do you read fanfic? Uh-oh. Christina, she'll DM you on Twitter.
I cannot publicly recommend any. I do not read House of the Dragon fan fiction. I do not do that. I do read A Song of Ice and Fire fan fiction, however. That's for sure. Please see my private DM inbox, Christine.
Right. Like if you want her recommendations, yeah, that's a DM thing. I got you. That's funny. But real question. I don't read fanfic. If that's what you want to do, like by all means, like artistic expression comes in a million different forms. Mine happens to be Dungeons and Dragons, which is one of the reasons I'm so glad that you decided to finally play with us.
Right.
And you guys have become my favorite crew, basically.
All I will say, Stephen, is one last note on fan fiction is I paid my college rent for a couple of years thanks to the good old Harry Potter fan fiction community
Yeah,
in
yeah.
2008. So
A lot of like
yes,
slash art, basically.
I'm not answering those questions
Right, right, right. I
beforehand.
got you. You know what? If it was on the internet, it's not. It's still out there
Oh
somewhere.
no, good luck.
Right.
You're not gonna find it.
Wouldn't even know where to look. But yeah, pay your artist. Let me show you guys some art that I paid for that includes a picture of Sanri in it. The red one right there, the red one. That's Sanri's character we were talking about earlier. Her character Satai. Um, and this artist is Anie. Anie, I think is as close as I can get to getting her name right. Um, you can find her there on Twitter. Oh, that's no, that's her old one. She's like Dread something now. God dang it. Anyway, I love this art. That's Sanri's character that she plays, and I'm so glad that you play with us because it really is my favorite pastime. And I was just super happy to get one of my best friends to actually enjoy sharing that with me. You know, it's not for everyone. I've tried to. Most people know me in that capacity. I play D&D with a lot of people. Um, so but yeah, I just love that we do it now, and I love that I got to know your brother through that process because he's such a what a wonderful person he turned out to be that I didn't know
Yeah,
that I didn't know,
he's awesome.
and because and it like it bonded me closer with Emily, which we were so full disclosure, Emily and I played D&D in a different game where we were both players and we played yesterday and we had a moment and we were like that felt like a main characters from the game that I played with Sandy. That felt like we brought that energy to that game for a minute and it was really fun and nice. Uh, so yeah, I'm just really glad that we get to share that now.
It's
It's a lot of
nice.
fun.
I enjoy
Um,
D&D.
I didn't really see many more questions come in. So, is there anything you'd like to say here at the end of all things, Sanri? I think we're going to wrap it up here. I know you're not feeling great.
Yeah.
So, I think we'll wrap it up here. Is there anything you'd like to say here at the end?
Not particularly. Thank you for having me. Thank you for sharing your space. And look at how far we've come in the 4 years since we've been here last.
Look at us. Look at us. Who'd have thought? Not me. Anyway, yeah, so that's it. Come back next week. We're going to talk about some Star Wars season 1 of the Bad Batch, which means I have to watch season 1 of the Bad Batch this week. Wish me luck, and yeah, Sanri, thank you so much for doing this again. It's you've been here other times, but like it's always fun to just sit and have a random ass conversation with you too.
Yeah, no problem.
So yeah,
All
thanks
right.
for that. And we'll see you all soon. And until then, you know what it is. Peace and be excellent to each other.